I want to start with where you are, because when I was thinking about you, and I don't want to say icebreakers, when I was thinking of a way to start this conversation, I wanted to start with where you are now. And the fact that I'm doing this episode while I'm back home is I don't think it I don't think there's a better way to start this conversation than this way. So I I always thought you were very, very brave, that you managed to go back home and still make it work, you said, because I mean a lot of us grow up wherever we grew up from, and then we leave, you know. Uh Not because you are being forced to, or but because you're all like, oh, I want to get out of this place, or to the point that even when you come back, at least for me in my experience, when I come back here, I struggle to fit in. And I wanted to hear from your experience, like, so you grew up in Hoima, and yeah, you come back there. What's what's the story? What's that like? And then how do you manage? I don't know about all the other podcasts that you've listened to, but I know this one right here is a bold and unapologetic podcast that dives into the hottest and most controversial topics of our time. So from current events to deep life questions around money, education, health, tech, retirement, AI, death, you name it, nothing is off the limits. So if you're an open-minded thinker like me who craves perspective shifts, thought-provoking debates, and unfiltered truths, you're in the right place. So whether we leave you mind-blown, challenged, or completely rethinking your stance, one thing for sure is you won't walk away the same. If you're ready to break the normal curve, embrace unpopular opinions, and dive into the uncomfortable truths of our time, then welcome to Joanne on Air Podcast.
To start with, I'm actually not from Hoima. I'm
Okay.
from Masindi. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That bit where you said that you moved back to Fort and you failed to fit in happens to me a
So
lot. I speak,
isn't Hoima and Masini sort of the same thing? I
no,
mean,
they're
they speak
not.
the same language.
The same language, but we're different places, different people, and different experiences.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
from Masindi, and I also faced the same thing. Yesterday, I spent the day in Masindi. I was driving around town slowly, but I couldn't see people I know, places that ring bells or maybe bring back any memories. I was like
Mm,
in a new place, and yet that's my hometown.
mm,
But so, I know that many people, especially after university, do not move back
mm,
home because they want to be in the city, and the city is like the home of opportunity. In this case, Kampala is the home of opportunity. Kampala has
okay.
a lot of opportunities for almost everyone doing everything. And it's really hard for someone who has graduated to move back home because they know that when they will get back home, the parents will be looking at you and saying, "Hey, we paid your school fees. What are you doing here? You're supposed to go out there and look for a job or something." But also, when you're in
Mm,
the city, the same thing happens. You see your friends are employed, things are working out, others are into business, and sometimes you fail to, sometimes you fail to keep up. But I know of a song where a South African, I don't know, but I know it was produced by Juanito Mos. These guys say, no matter where you go, remember the road that leads you home. And you know that you always welcome at home. When things do not work out, you're always free to move back home. But the home that I'm talking about in this picture is Hoima, not any other town. It's Hoima. Hoima is now a place that is as endowed as Kampala and any other cities that have a lot of opportunity here, like Mbarara, Gulu, and Arua. I think those are cities that really are buzzing in the country.
mm,
Hoima now with a lot of activity around the oil and gas sector, now sports, and the other things is just as good as any other city. And I know that these opportunities that are in Kampala can always be in Hoima if the right things are done. So I find it easy to build here. But again, I'm not locked here. I'm really not. The things that I'm doing, I think I can do better. When in Kampala, opportunity just hasn't come for me to move there.
Okay, that makes sense. So did you struggle with the reality of, okay, now maybe, I don't know, Kampala is not gonna work out for me at this point of my life. Let me, because I feel like maybe a lot of young people, we are stuck in Kampala because, yeah, you look like you have something going go on, rather than, okay, let me be here and make it work where I am. Then, so did you struggle with the, I don't want to say acceptance of, like, okay, because I'm assuming you did want to, and then, yeah. So did you struggle with that reality?
Well, I don't think I did because right after school I got that I studied business at school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was after dropping out of school, out of law school, and then later I went to business and got my degree. But the thing is, um, what can be done in Kampala can be done elsewhere. Yeah.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
never had a point where I struggled with deciding on what to do. It was always opportunity. So after school, I loved radio so much. So
Okay.
I had the passion, and I had passion and also maybe some talent, though I lacked some skills. So right after school, I got a job at a radio station in Hoima called Spice FM.
Mm.
So I moved home. The pay was not
Oh.
that much, but I had to move.
Yeah.
The only time I struggled in Kampala was before my graduation, when I had dropped out of school and I had to rent for myself, work at Chan Towers every day, just trying to
Yeah.
survive without even phones or anything. So after school, I moved to Hoima due to opportunity. I got a job in Hoima, a radio job. And then I had to move to Gulu also for a graduate training. And then the other job that I did was in the bank, but then in Hoima again.
Mm.
So even on resigning from the bank, I resigned to figure out things within Hoima because I had stayed in Hoima for some time and I knew where to start.
Okay. So I want to talk about the fitting in part, and all that I've seen you do with the people there, with all these I don't know, businesses, the oil and gas sector, the culture part. How how do you fit into that? I mean, you're a young man, you're a young person. Now all these people who have been there for a while are looking at you like, what's up? Like, do you get some sort of friction from them in your effort, like trying to make a mark there or like make a contribution?
Yesterday I was for Rotary, and the presentation was about conservation,
Mm,
and they asked me to give a vote of thanks.
okay.
And I told the Rotarians and Rotaractors that were present, I told them, guys, you know what? When people come here to present some of these things, they speak about them in complex ways and all that. But the most important thing is for us to know our individual roles, like what you can do as an individual to contribute to the greater thing.
Mm,
Because if we know that the problems that we have maybe in Kampala are floods, what can you do as an individual? It's taking responsibility, like making sure
mm,
that you, the people around you, are not throwing kasasido in drainage systems. Like everyone gets to know the role that they have to play. So the same
yeah.
as the that we're in right now, like now you say the things that we've done in culture and all that. In our community, Bunyoro, in our community here, there are very many topical issues that keep going on. And sometimes you
Okay.
see that all these things are being ignored by by the people in positions and all that.
Yeah.
So you could think through and say, in my position, what can I do? What is my role? Is it about
Yeah.
awareness? Can I rally one or two or 10 or 20 people and get to tell them about this?
Okay.
Like,
So I'm assuming. some of the people in these groups are people who are born and raised in these spaces. Have you had people look at you like an outsider, like you're, like, I don't know, maybe you're too woke, or have
Not
you had
really.
such?
Not
Okay,
really. Not really. Not at all, by the way.
okay.
I believe that our generation is not of people that would see you as Alan. Actually, even if you came to Hoima today as Joan and started this whole and started doing whatever you're doing, the people will
Mm.
embrace you. They will surely embrace you.
Is it
And
a younger generation?
I've seen that in Gulu too. I've done some work in Gulu. We've done advocacy in Gulu. We did a lot of things to do with events and all that. I was a Munyoro with my boss that was a Muchiga, but we were embraced all together and we worked with
Mm.
different. So I don't think our generation has that thing of this guy is coming from nowhere to do things in our communities. Our generation is really embracing.
Yeah, I was asking if are they a younger generation? Like, what's the highest population in now districts, communities like Hoima? Like, are they all, I don't know, Gen Zs, millennials, or
Young
there's
people, young
young
people,
people,
not Gen Zs, but young people. Which
millennials?
category
Yeah.
are we? I know we're not Gen Zs, we are millennials. Yeah,
I'm Gen Z.
John, you are Gen Z. I'm not Gen Z.
No, but I think that sort of aids it, because I feel like in communities now that I'll use my hometown as an example. The people that are in charge, the people that are in charge of these places, the, I don't know, the decision makers, it's all really older people. So why I asked
Are
you
you
this question is
sure?
because, yeah, for
Are
real,
you
come to
sure?
Fototo.
I've been in
It's
Fopoto for a while, and I see people really. I see a young generation in charge.
Yeah, the young generation that does not get to call the shots, for real. I feel like this place now. Let me tell you something I've noticed about Footpoto. You see that whole tourism city jazz. I feel
Hmm.
like we're literally sleeping on that whole branding, because the people in charge of these places are people who are either too old and doing things the old traditional way, or are just rigid people who are like, what's the word? People who are
John,
like,
I
I don't know how they call them in politics, but like people who like to do things
John,
the old way.
John.
Yeah.
I've seen people sell for Porto, and I've seen them being young people. I also I accept that our country has the people that are leading the biggest population
Yeah.
because our population is of young people, but then the people that are leading us are really old.
Old, yeah. So you guys, young people, can do all you're doing down here. I don't know, market your Airbnbs, all these tourism places, and blah blah blah. But have you seen the road from your road from Kampala to Hoima is like really cool. Have you seen the road from Kampala to Fupoto now? Everyone
I
keeps
have.
presenting that road like, what is going on? So you could be selling all your, doing the branding, doing the marketing for all these nice places in Fupoto as the tourism city, yet the road
John,
looks the way it wants.
John, if you say that the people that are in charge, I somehow accept, but I think that even if those are the people in charge, if we, the young people that are really concerned about these things, raise our voices, these people will listen. I know that even our kingdom in Bunyoro is led by really old people. They are actually
Mm.
fighting so hard. There are factions in our kingdom. We have team Babito and team
Mm.
team Prime Minister. The Babito want the Prime Minister out. Somehow we do not have a cabinet at the kingdom. The
Mm.
cabinet is off. Yeah, and
Yeah.
things are not moving okay. So it's everywhere that old people are the ones leading, but young people, when organized, can get to influence the way those people do the things that they do.
I think it's. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. So maybe more engagement, really, more room, more conversations for young people to like get their hands dirty in these things that actually matter. I
Mm,
I and now, considering that a lot of the, what are they called, the natives, like, you all grow up and study and leave, like everyone is just growing up and leaving, which leaves, which is like why
mm,
I think you're very brave, by the way. I'll keep saying that you stayed. I Up to date, I still really struggle, like, to like find, to like feel like, yeah, like, even when I'm here, I'm like, I cannot wait to leave because I'm not used at all. I'm just so uncomfortable.
Joan, it's very important for us to connect with where we're from. You have run a consistent pod for 3 years now. Is it 3 years?
Yeah.
This is your third year running a pod consistently. But how many
Mm.
people from your community have you had on this pod?
None, zero.
Have you thought of having a guy like Sergio on this pod? These are the guys that call the shots in Footpoto. Sergio runs a whole studio and a lot of creatives in Injara.
Yeah. I should check
Have you,
him out.
have you thought of having Dre or maybe the gentleman, a very young gentleman that I'm so much inspired by? He
Mm.
is called Tabu
Okay.
Hussein in Fort Portal. I started helping this guy. Okay, I did not really help him directly. Well, he doesn't know that I did some work for him, but I
Mm.
did some work for him on his initiative when he was still in senior five. Today he runs
Mm.
40.
I'm gonna get in touch while I'm here.
Yeah.
This is good
So,
because not that I don't know, but also because I'm like so out of touch with like I don't know.
so,
I just
so
come
John,
here. Not that I don't love this place, of course, because my parents are here. I come here
John,
and then I'm like,
you
ugh,
need to
yeah.
connect with these guys. You will find more reasons to be in Fort Portal if in
Mm.
your hometown if you connect with these people because I feel like there's a lot that has to be uncovered about that town. People, people in your home, people only identify Fort Portal with tourism.
Tourists.
Yeah.
Which is also not good,
Then
by the way. I've noticed the tourism is not even for the locals. It's for people are pricing
it's
their places in dollars, and you're like, oh
it's really
god,
not
like,
for the locals because if you ask around the natives, if you ask around the people, even in places like Rwengoma, that is maybe
mm,
closer to Amabere, Ganyina, Muiru, and ask them
mm,
whether they've been there. Some will tell you they've never. I know people that
yeah,
live in Kasindikwa that have never gone to see the crater lakes at Lake Saka. Yeah,
mm,
because this thing is all packaged for the whites and all that. But it also goes back to the our national strategy of tourism.
yeah, yeah,
Is are we trying to market these things for our people if we are pricing all our lodges extremely
yeah,
highly? Mm.
yeah. I think listening to you now, I think it's very admirable that you know about. I feel like you even know about Footpoto more than I do. Yet I come from here. I think it's admirable that you know about these places, and I is it because you're actually interested, or I don't know. How did you get to find out about all these people?
Um, uh, Joan, you know that I've worked with creatives since 2018, so I've
Yeah.
been interacting with a lot of people, not only in Fort Portal, but also in Bundibujo, Kasese, and
So
also
Western
in,
Uganda.
yeah. I did research in the Rwenzori region, so I interacted with a whole lot of people.
Hmm.
I, yeah, that's why I get to know many of these people.
So this is a challenge for me, and then for a lot. I know I'm like a representation of a lot of other young people who have just grown up and left
True,
only show up for holidays, for Christmas or whatever,
true,
and
true.
in there's some pride of like, yeah, whatever. But then now for me, I don't think it's pride. I don't want to act like. For me, it's oh god, like it's a whole lot, like a whole space of like, okay, fear, or I don't know, we probably won't relate, or and and I think it's because I do not see myself like I do not see myself now, let's say, come back here and then maybe try to do what I'm doing, let's say in Poto or in Hoima, or like, these are places away from the capital city, Kampala. And when I hear or see of people doing their thing back here, I'm like, you are very brave, by the way, to even just come back and decide to do this in your local language. I've seen that guy Sergio sing as making jokes with some guy. They were playing, I don't know, American rap, and I was like, you should listen to Baturo rap. Baturo know how to rap, and I played a song of his on YouTube, and I think it's incredible, yeah, that there's people like you that are, I don't want to say are willing. I don't know if it's bravery. I don't know if it's intelligence that people choose to do
John,
what?
John, I don't know. You talk about this like it's something really big. It's not really big,
It
John.
is,
John,
honestly, it
as long as
is.
you know, as long as you know what, because John, if as long as you know what you want, we cannot rule out the fact that people are in Kampala because there is opportunity. Actually, I told you in the beginning that if I got
Yeah,
an opportunity to move to Kampala, I would move, but I wouldn't move just as Raymond. Just Raymond Mogume has come here to maybe lead a certain wing at Swangs Avenue. No, I'm not just coming with that. Let's say maybe. By the way, I wish somebody from Swangs listens to this because I want to work there. So, so if I'm
we
coming
are
there, I'm not just coming.
manifesting. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm not just coming as a staff. I'm coming as somebody who has a whole experience of working with creatives
Mm,
everywhere. You know,
mm,
I know what these other people think and all that. But I do a radio show where I interact with creatives of all generations. Last weekend I was with Michael Fingers, the producer that did Love You Every Day, Baby Cool, Streetlights, Radiant Breeze, or most of
yeah,
Nava Gray's songs.
yeah,
And he lived in the UK. Yes, he grew up
mm,
and lived in the UK. He was an executive at Sony, and he worked with Don Jazzy.
yeah,
There's a huge producer in the UK called Skills. Those are the people he was working with. But he decided to come back to Uganda. Came to
yeah.
Kampala, did some work, produced for all those guys. But again,
Yeah.
decided, you know what? I want to move to Hoima. Now
Okay.
he's in his hometown.
Yeah.
And when I talk to him, I'm not just talking to any producer. No, I'm talking to someone who has experiences of London as a young black man, of
Yeah.
Kampala as a producer, and now of Hoima as someone who is too knowledgeable.
For the environment.
Yeah. So the more the experiences, I think the better the decisions and conversations that we have.
Still, I think it's a big deal, yeah, because a lot of young people know there's nothing much happening in Kampala, but have more room to make a mark in their communities, but won't go back. I know for a fact, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's still a big deal that there's people like you that are like you, like it's not written in stone that I have to end up in Kampala or I don't know. I could go home and still forge a way around life, and I think it's very brave. Yeah.
Sometimes it's really personal. It depends on an individual. What do you want to do with your life? There's some
Yeah.
that say, I want to be in Kampala, have work, save up, have all this fun, and maybe I'll retire and move back to Fort Portal.
Mm.
It could be
Okay,
a
I would
choice.
understand for in that context, but I mean, like for young people, especially now for me, if you ask me what I want, I wouldn't necessarily say I want to come back here. I don't. I really don't. And I've had phases. I think we talked about it some time back when I was telling you that there's a radio station that was offering me a gig to work, and
Yeah, I remember that.
initially it was very very exciting because like when I was in school, I was like that dream, like whoo, to end up on radio TV. That was like and then in there, like down to making the decision, I was like, yo, like, no way. Like, no. Like, yeah, but while I'm here, yeah, I'm gonna make it a point to reach out to at least one or two. I'll either have them as a guest here or do a vlog series with them to just find out what that is like for them because I honestly can't imagine. I've seen Gen Zs act so proud about not knowing their roots, but then I've noticed as an adult, it's very naive or it's very naive and ignorant for you to act like it's kawa to not know where you come from or to know about your roots. So I'm honestly very I don't want to say intentional. Intentional doesn't cut it. I'm like very yeah, like I'm attentive to the king, what he's up to, what's the kingdom doing, what opportunities are they making up for young people, for the kids in schools. At the time I even thought about going to schools to speak to some of the kids here. But again, of course, time does and doesn't allow. But yeah, I actually want to make a contribution as well. I don't want to be those people who just were born here and left and never looked back. Because
Now, the
even
fact
then,
that you feel that social responsibility of having a contribution to growing your kingdom is good enough.
Mm,
What is lacking is now the whole strategic plan of how you get to one, know what's happening, and know where
yeah.
you're going to, where your intervention point is going to be.
True, true, true. This is good. This is good for me. Good haunting for me. I want to talk about the culture part. We're talking about the kingdom. I want to explore more into your knowledge of culture. I've seen you have different conversations on X about the kingdom that side and the things going on. Do you, first of all, I think in regards to this whole podcast and challenging status quo, my unpopular opinion is I think culture is, I'm sure you've seen that line, peer pressure from dead people. But no, seriously, I feel like maybe sometimes it's just in place to like keep you in a certain, I don't know, certain bubble, but it's not that like it's not that deep. Like how you say, I don't know, kneel or don't kneel, or you get. I don't know what you think about that.
Before I go on with my answer to that, what's your thought about religion?
I think religion is, so there's two things here. There's faith in God and whatever, and then religion. My belief about religion is it's just a social constraint. Like it's meant to keep you in certain shape, like a constitution of a certain country. Like things work this way here. Same. I think if I was born in Chibuli, I would be a Muslim belonging to the Islam religion. The reason I'm Catholic is because I was where I was at the time I was born. But though I'm not defying the fact that I believe in God, I believe there's like a significant power above all of us. And yeah, God that I respect and believe in and I pray to, because I am a Christian and I believe in God, of course. But like I like to believe all these other differences around, I don't know, Catholics, Muslims, born agains are the same as cultures for like Batoro, Waganda. uh, same really.
Joan, the real peer pressure here is
Is
the pressure to disrespect culture. That is the real peer pressure in this case.
really.
You cannot say that culture is peer pressure from dead people because, first of all, even the people that we are trying so hard to be like have their cultures. They have things that they
Which people
believe
are
in.
those?
You guys want to be like Zungus. Gen Zs want to
Not
badly.
me. Not.
Every community has its norms, things that are unspoken rules. I mean, things that are generally acceptable. And just because you belong to a certain umbrella, there are things that you have to do to fit in there. In our house at home, at my grandmother's home in Bujumbura, there are things
Mm.
that we do, there are words that we say, and there are things that we don't do, there are words that we don't say. Even when you get out in the morning and go to school and find other kids doing some things, you do not do them because in our house there are things that we do not do. And that
Which
is how
just
we are.
proves my point. So either, unless you're saying Raymond here that the bar is right or wrong, black and white, but the reasons why you do or don't do some things in your grandparents' house is to keep you guys in check on like either on a right or wrong basis, or
So
you get like
if something is to keep people in check, does that become peer pressure?
more. Let's use a good example. Let's say, give me one cultural
Kneeling.
example of like the
Let's
things
talk
you
about
do in, let's
kneeling.
say,
Kneeling. Let's talk about kneeling for the Baganda people.
uh-huh.
Kneel.
So when I
Mm,
kneel, you'd say I respect you, right?
mm.
Yeah, and if I don't, you're going to think I don't, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna say. Like if I didn't, I mean I do kneel. I'm not saying I'm those people who don't kneel. I do kneel when I'm greeting my parents and all. But if I don't, I've noticed they say, "Oh, mana tainange." So like that kid does not have manners. Like that
Mm,
kid wasn't raised well. But at
mm.
the same time, whether I do or don't kneel, it has nothing to do with whether I do or do not respect you. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it's just that's the way of society keeping you guys in check of like, yeah, kneel to prove respect.
What
But
is the
again,
parameter? What is the measure? What is the parameter in this case? Like, what I'm saying is that, John, if you
mm,
know that you are in Buganda and you
mm,
know that in Uganda ladies kneel for elders,
mm,
and there is no way you convince someone that you have respect. Let's say for the Katikiro, you've met the Katikiro and you greet while standing.
mm.
But the people that pretend to be woke are hypocrites. When they're in
Oh
public,
God.
they kneel so much. They kneel so much. You find a Joan here who is saying it's peer pressure from the dead people. When you reach near the cathedral, you will even sleep down and crawl.
Oh
But when you're
God.
out here with colleagues, say, no, there's no I'm doing that. You may even fail
I
to do it for
kneel, like
your parents. But
like
when
I
you get to
said.
the public where the cameras, you kneel.
Like I said, I do kneel. I'm just saying, unpopular opinions. People keep saying like, culture lose that. That's just peer pressure from like dead people. Like, but again, because we're a generation that's all about liberalism, do what you want when you wanna, without, which is
See,
probably maybe why culture is facing a lot of pressure now.
John, if we forget where we come from, we shall get lost because we are going to fail to be the Baganda, the Banyoro, the Batoro that we are, and even fail to be the Bazungu that we want to be because we can't be like them. They will bring us their
Mm,
other things that they do freely. For instance, they will tell you that, you know what, you can identify yourself as male, females, Jui, Baivichi, those are the
mm,
genders that most people form, and you find those odd. You find it so hard to do the things that they do, but also you refuse to do the things that the people from your own area do. For example, I've lived in Fort Portal and I've seen people that go to Kampala. Yes, they
yeah.
go to Kampala. They start speaking Luganda. Yeah,
Oh
and when
yeah,
they
and
come
they
back,
come back
they pretend that they've forgotten how to speak.
forgotten rhetoric. Yeah, I've seen those as well.
So sometimes their Luganda is fake, their Rutoro is useless, and they do not even speak proper English. So you look at a lost adult, a lost 29-year-old lady,
Mm,
can't speak Rutoro, can't speak Luganda, can't speak English. They are there, confused.
mm,
A huge aspect of our culture is our languages. You people are giving birth to kids, you want them to speak English at home. You don't want them to speak their local language. And then they start
yeah.
learning when they're old and they will
I,
look funny.
Yeah. Did you see that video of the Mulondos and they were and the kids can't, I don't know, they don't know plates in Uganda, they and the whole thing, the parents were laughing and I'm thinking, I'm like, so there was a lot of like, when you say language is part of who we are and our culture, there's a lot of feedback. All these kids go to international schools and then people are like, why do they need the Luganda? Because there's a lot of like backlash from like both sides. Like, what's funny? Why is the mom laughing out loud at this ignorance? But then now people are like, why do the kids need the language anyway? I don't know what you think about that.
See, I respect the Malondos so much because they do the things that I think I would love to do. I one huge challenge that we have lately these days is because when we get educated, we move out of our communities. Back then, people used to marry within their communities. Like you all speak Rutoro properly, things will work out like that. But now, because you live in Kampala, you're going to meet an Odong from
Yeah.
Gulu,
Yeah.
and he's gonna tell you are a Mutoro, you get a Muganda maid, and your kid is going to
Mm,
school where they speak English and Luganda. So
mm.
the kid somehow gets confused on which language to speak because you spend the day at work, the baby
Is that a
always with us.
problem?
So no, it's not a problem. So here it comes back to you, the parents, because guys, parenting in this generation is going to be so hard, especially for us. It has been hard for the Amin generation. It's going to be harder for us. We keep saying the main generation is failing their kids, but also we could fail our kids even in worse ways.
Mm,
Now, it's up to you and your husband to decide and say, you know what, this is what we are going. You have to talk about these things deliberately, so to make
mm,
sure that our kids speak proper Luganda in our house. We're going to get a Muganda maid. We're going to try to speak Luganda to this kid. For the English, we shall pay school fees, and the daycare and kindergarten, we will teach our kid how to speak English. You can be said to speak Luganda at home to these children. It's very okay for them to learn their Luganda at foundation level, so that when they go to school, they will automatically learn. I went to one of the best schools in Hoima. We used to speak a lot of English. I went to secondary school with people that came from school, from UPE schools, some who used not to speak English at all. But by the time they got used to secondary school, they were already speaking some English. English always, even the uneducated in this country speak English, though the quality is different. I hear you when you say that what is the use of the local language?
Yeah, where are they taking it? Where is it taking them?
Whoever asked that question will come back with an answer after 10 years.
Right.
The same person asking the same question will have an answer for themselves, by the way. Will have an answer. You think your language is useless? You will come back with an answer. Trust me. We need to be responsible in a way that we have to conserve our cultures, our nature, our everything. Conserve our languages, our taboos. Okay, you guys, there are people that I'm very proud of some boys on these UK boys. One is called Apollo, another is called
Yeah,
Oscar, Regan,
I've seen them on TikTok. Yeah.
Mulinde, who calls himself Sukali. I like these boys so much because they grew up there, but they're trying so hard to speak their Luganda. They show you that, you know what? Actually, I had one the other day saying that they would love to date a Muganda girl who speaks Luganda. I said, wow, these guys know a thing about this. We have to conserve who we are. We need to conserve who we are.
And now with the intermarriages, you mentioned something about the whole cross-tribal marriages and all. It's crazy now that people are learned, people are educated, people are moving countries. Now, like those boys you're talking about, then the UK, they're definitely going to I don't know, find a white, I don't know, British chick and get married. You get, like, there's so much going on, really. Parents here, like you said, they're busy. Schools are teaching in different languages. I saw a TikTok of, I don't know, some school is it in Chengera teaching kids in an accent on how to speak the English. Like, there's so much going on that, for real, you really truly worry about identities, and now kids ending up completely lost about where they belong, where they come from, and you know, like where are my roots? What do I? Baganda used to have the thing of, I don't know, is it a totem where you cannot, I don't know, marry someone who has the same totem? I don't know if it's the same thing in different.
Don't you have it in Toro?
Again, I need to go back to my notes as well and do my research. I think we do, but I've not seen people talk about that stuff anymore. But also because maybe people are not marrying from their own tribes anymore. Yeah, people are doing that whole cross. You leave Porto, you go to Kampala, meet a Muganda man, or you leave Uganda and go and study in the UK or wherever, or in China. Next thing you get, like, there's a lot happening, and now you're thinking, what struggle do we choose here to raise our kids as, I don't know, the kind of country that we're in right now, the way that things are looking like, it is hard to choose what path to take in regards to, like, conserving our children, or even just the generation right now. We've been here long enough, and I totally understand if you said you want to take a break, because I mean, we've been in your ear for the past 30-40 minutes. Well, if you're looking for permission to pause this, you don't have to. Take a break, go do something else, and please check out a bonus episode, which is a continuation of this episode.